Okay, we're back. Hey, and at medium security camp, I was in a band. They had a band in the music room. We had 3 songs, and one of them was AC/DC's "Whole Lotta Rosie." So I'll tell you that. I don't know why I'm throwing that stuff out. All right, we're back. Where was I? Got out to college. Figure out. Oh, I've had a million jobs. Oh yeah, I was talking about how I used to ride my bike. Over 5,000. So, obviously I love being outside after not being free to go outside. Although I used to jog outside, even in the wintertime, a couple miles a day when I was locked up. A lot of stories, obviously, from being there for that long time. And that was kind of, I wasn't a street kid at all. I was a suburban kid who went to summer camp and was a Boy Scout. So when I got there, I wanted to say hi to people. Hey, how you doing? Let's just say I have a couple stories. So let's just say I have a million stories. I told you about the time I age. Yeah. Anyways, million stories to go with all that stuff, and that's what we're going to do on this channel. It's one of the things. It's not the only thing, and I really hate to. I never really talk about it. Obviously, I shouldn't in general, but at this point, now I need to tell stories. And this is a good story. I got a million good stories. I mean, when I got out, I had a lot of jobs. Oh yeah, that's where I was talking about. But I had this. I was a waiter at an upscale restaurant here, one of the busiest restaurants in the city, and it was great for me. I was there for 8 years through 5 managers and 5 owners and 6 managers, and the management was awful, but the restaurant, the environment was great. It was an Italian restaurant. They played old music, and just really loud. Lots of pictures on the wall. It was family style, and we could see 350 people at once, turned over twice a night, so that's 1,000 people we would see every night. And I worked there 8 years, and it was great. Oh, it was just what I needed. Oh my God! After 10 years of no civilization, or lack of it, because they don't run those places too well. They don't run those places too well at all. They do not run those places too well. We could do better. You know the saying, who's running the show? I've said that a few times in my life. Anyways, so if you guys want to hear these stories and go through some of the issues now, because I've been through a lot of this social structural discombobulation, and because I'm a geek and a thoughtful person, and because I've had time to think, and because I've taken advantage of that time, in and out and such, I've learned a few things, have a few observations, made a few discoveries, found my way through some of the woods. Okay, so climbed a few mountains intellectually. So designed mental architecture, and so I can help lost people. I've obviously run into a lot of lost people who are locked up. There's a bunch of classic things, but like one, I'm talking about principles now, not stories. The notion that people go crazy when they're locked up in a box. Well, that's only if you have no internal life, right? If your whole life is everyone around you and what's going on around you, and you never stop and think about anything, and you're not independent at all, when they put you in a box and close the door, you got nothing but a blank wall and those, But if you're a thoughtful person, it is not a big deal. Now, a lot of times it's loud and it's awful and there's a lot of things going on. But when it's not loud, and if you've got a book to read, you can write, you know. So when I escaped, I had to do 6 months in the hole. And over the whole 10-year period, I did a total of a year in the hole, 6 months, and then the other 6 months was broken up because, like you can get tickets when you're locked up for BS or actual stuff. All right, so if you guys want to hear these stories and the observations I've learned from studying social structures as a rebel geek over the last 40 years, then subscribe and spread the word so I can get the amount of subscribers I need to be monetized and sell merchandise and such, so I can get something going here. You like this thing? This thing's great. I had one t-shirt made for me a long time ago. It's long gone, but I'm gonna definitely have this is gonna be a t-shirt and a flag and bumper stickers and logos, and we're gonna start a political party. There's cats fighting outside. I can hear them. I hate that. I like those rescue cat videos. Can't rescue everyone though. But we need to be a little more organized. Who's running the show? All right. All right. So I should mention that I don't have to tell everything. I've already said a lot, but so when I returned to college, and I joined the sailing club, and a grad student roommate was leaving, and he offered me the place. So I thought it would be good for me. He was a master's degree in economics. I'm like, oh, we can talk economics because I like social issues. And he was in the sailing club, and so I took it. He was there a year, and then he moved on. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna rent it out. So, but now it was a 2-bedroom. I decided I would move to the basement. I rent out both the rooms, right? Because I needed the money. Because there was slow time at the restaurant, and it was a rough time with the management. One of the bad versions of the management at that time. And so I moved to the basement, rented out both rooms, and usually to students from the campus. And I've been doing that ever since. It saves my butt when I have to go from crummy job to crummy job, right? I always have 2 renters, and it's usually students. But I've been doing it for 20 years. I've had over 45 different renters. Usually I have a one long-termer that's been there for a year or 2 or so, and then the other one turns over. I've had foreign students from China, Hong Kong, Germany, Cuba, Bolivia. Gustavo, I don't know if you'll see this, Gustavo, came all the way from Bolivia to study animation. But anyways, so that saved my butt. And the way I look at it is we're neighbors. We're neighbors. And of course, I'm used to just living with neighbors, with people around me. I'm used to a lot of places, moving a lot and such. But ironically, it's also why I haven't moved in a long time and have been here so long. I've only had 3 apartments in the 20 years I've been out. And I've just been studying and enjoying life, because obviously after an awful adventure like that, I remember one of the things, I just dying for fresh squeezed orange juice for so long. And distance. I like to see distance, because when you're locked up, everything's close. But there's a lot of stories. What was I going to say now? So I'm saying, if you guys want to hear these stories, and that's the bio. There's also the issues, the principles of life that you learn about, that I really haven't gone much into. But life is not as difficult. Once like anything, once you learn stuff, it doesn't look that complicated. But if you can share what you learn, and you should, so the issue is usually, like I said before in one of the earlier, there's going to be like 3 or 4 of these intro things, because I ramble on forever, as you can see. get me started. The issue with all these so-called controversies, whether it's God, guns, gays, abortion, communism, socialism, school shootings, wars, capitalism, economics, it's less that the issue is less that there's not answers as much as the issue is that there are people who are not looking for answers, don't want to hear the facts, are afraid to look at the facts, are not free to look at the facts or speak the facts. That's the larger issue, and then so that's politics, whether it's family politics, you can't speak out at the table because your parents are hothead trash talkers, or at school, at work, or in politics, in debates where they have an hour debate and they don't actually address anything, let alone go back and forth. So it would be nice if we could do that a little more, right? And first you learn, then you write or speak, and then you act. Get a team, get things going. So if you guys could help me, if we could work together, if you want to hire me in this job, I'm applying to you for this job. These are my qualifications. I'm not only half a century old, but I've been thinking for decades about all the tough issues. The social structural issues. And one of the basic things we need is more interaction. Now, the internet really helped a lot with that, but it needs to be constructive, not destructive, and that requires actual identification and accountability. Meaning, if you have a debate website, the people should be real, be willing to identify themselves, and agree to interact back and forth on the issues before you can continue on and say something else. That's how you get things done in constructive conversation, an adult four-hour conversation about issues. Reasonable people who have a different opinion, but if they're reasonable and they take the time to talk and share information, eventually they can reach the same conclusion. If you're both reasonable and you have the time and freedom, you will reach the same understanding eventually. So the issue is whether one or both are reasonable and whether you have the freedom to talk and the willingness to talk. That's the issue. There are people, there are families who never talk for days or weeks, decades, ever. There are issues that have not been talked through thoroughly for days, weeks, decades, ever. Nations don't talk. How is it possible that an issue a solvable issue could go unsolved for days or weeks or decades or ever? Because they don't address it, or one of both sides are not reasonable. It's that simple. A lot of times solutions are simple. Getting them done is the hard part of it, right? I mean, anybody can point to the mountain and say, there's the mountain, let's start climbing. That's easy to say. Climbing is the hard part. But a lot of people don't acknowledge that there is a mountain, and to get to the top you have to climb, and so let's start climbing. You know, a lot of people don't want to don't think. You know, there's all kinds of false sayings. Um, don't judge other people. We don't talk about judge. Judge means think. When you say don't judge, oh, is it going to flash? Did I take off my glasses? Yeah, we only have a little. We have to do it again. We'll come back. Judge means think. So, and the classic phrase anyway says, "Judge not lest ye be judged." And in other words, it says, you can judge, but be willing to be judged too. Hey, I'm willing to be judged. So there's nothing wrong with that saying if you listen to the whole saying. Anyways, people say don't judge. People say don't think. You know, the old saying about, what do you think, you're smart? Yeah, I do. What, do you only like to talk to dumb people? So people don't talk about the tough issues. And it's so, is it still on? Got a little more time, just a second or two. And people are so desperate for real talk that they end up settling for trash talk. We'll be back.